In the far future, faster-than-light travel is possible via portals called stiffworks. Human and alien civilizations travel this way for millennia. Trade, war, and technology proliferate. Countless societies rise, thrive, fall, and vanish. Eventually, almost everyone forgets the secrets of the stiffworks. Almost. 300 years ago, the worshipful company of Stillfleeters is formed on Spindle, a space station of unknown origin. They send fleeters into the void using stiffworks in search of profit. It is 100 million years in the future. Welcome to Float City.
Previously on Float City, the Saffron Anox, a powerful extra-dimensional trade lord in control of a pair of planets nicknamed the Lovers, asks the crew to investigate one co-archivist, Zeshdano Novell. The Anox is trying to arrange trade with the provincial planet of Kakudun, and through surreptitious means has discovered this archivist is waylaying his plans. This he does not take kindly to, as a long-standing partner with the Co, used to conducting business as he pleases. Afeared of his threats to break his partnership and blame the crew's rockside scuffle with a void elf, they return to Spin with the Onvader's ransom of goods, where they are celebrated, promoted, and rewarded with an intern. After some R&R, the crew regroups to formulate a plan of attack. First step, Vynos' old mentor, Nio Symbolon, a co-archivist and fellow Tremulant who would love to provide access to the eponymous archive itself and reveal the location of Zeshdano Novell, but can't do so without the proper paperwork. We join the team now en route to speak with Beta's colleague, Orndrim Sasperine, a fellow xenobiologist who lives deep in Spin in the dormant bays. The crew treks from the innermost heart of the Basilicon, high atop Spin, whatever atop means, through the canteen, the flats, the near and far bays, past Little Waitana and into the dormant bays, a place most fleeters know only by the dark tales told of it. Here is the home of the Mournfolk, the Morgul in their own fizzly tongue, a group of informatic beings said to be the ghosts, somehow, of sapphire elves, resigned to mourning the fall of their civilization eons ago. What few of them reside on Spin gather here, amongst the stiffworks whose destinations are lost or not yet understood, in the dark, damp, mossy reaches of the bays. Orndrim is staked out here, studying the Mournfolk and, at the request of the company, keeping an eye on them. As the crew approaches, a sparse bazaar comes into view. It's dimly lit with strung-up lights and small bits of tech here and there. Morgul float around in small groups, their bodies made of two dense, glowing bundles of filament twisted together, blue and white and shrouded in heavy, cylindrical weave. Each Mournfolk is two beings, two minds acting always together. Pairs sizzle and click back and forth at one another, their delicate features like that of a glimmering, haunting marble statue. Soft depressions and protrusions suggesting a nose, eyes, a chin. It's rare, but not unheard of, that fleeters would come visit the dormant bays. No Mournfolk approaches the crew on their way to Orndrim's flat.
As they walk through the area, she kind of whispers back to the crew, like, now's your chance. If you've ever had a question about Mournfolk but didn't know who to ask, you're going to have a chance when you see Odrum. This guy knows everything. This way.
Remy starts whistling. Remy's just whistling. He's like unbothered by all of this. He thinks it's very cool.
Merkis is at home. It is damp, and he doesn't have to hydrate. He's just kind of power walking behind Beta, but going very slowly because he's not in the front. Just okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, Beta takes you all through this little bazaar, through this grouping of Morn folk that are just kind of hanging out in the square. They're in these loose groups. They're all kind of roughly facing in one direction, and you can see that they're pointing sort of in the direction that you're going to go. And there are a number of stiffworks that are on the edge of this bazaar. They're on the edge of their little town, and those stiffworks are decorated with lights and some candles, and the actual surface of them is decorated with geometric shapes of moss, and a couple of them look like they're a kind of altar. These are very... It's like sacred geometry or sacred works of art. You don't know if it's arbitrary, but these ones are definitely decorated, and it looks kind of striking in this dim light. You walk for a little bit. You go, around a corner here and around a corner there, and you come to Orndrim's quarters/house. He doesn't have a door. It's just a thick black curtain, and there's a piece of wood that's bolted into the middle of it that just says, "O Sasperine."
Beta sticks her head through the curtain kind of rudely and says, "Odrum!"
Oh! And he turns around. You startled me.
Odrum, I am so excited to introduce you to my 3 best friends.
He looks a little disappointed, but also excited. So he stands up from his desk. He was sitting down, facing away at the other end of his room blob. His room blob is like the rest of the surroundings, very dimly lit. It's very cozy. It's neat, but it's packed full of books, charts on the wall, notebooks, all kinds of open ledgers, just lots of research around. Not dirty, but crowded. He's got a bunch of lamps that are hanging. It's kind of like a mini study or mini library. And he's got a Murphy bed that is shoved up on one side of the wall that has some books that are strapped to the underside of it. And at the bottom of it, you can see a couple small musical instruments, like planks of wood with string on them, essentially, which is funny because he's huge. Orndrim Sasperine is an unhuman, which means that he's kind of like an 8-foot-tall human with 4 arms. The comparison that we made earlier, that I don't know if it made it on tape, was he kind of looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat, right? It's Goro, right?
It's Goro.
Except without the ponytail. I decided no
Prince
ponytail.
Goro.
He's got a long, shiny gray jacket that he wears with huge holes cut in the sides of it for his extra arms, which are very, very muscular. He wears these really thick glasses. They're huge. They're very round. They're like Coke bottle glasses, Coke bottle bottoms. They're, half an inch thick. They're very, very large. And his cloak also has this big collar on it that just looks really, really silly on him. He also has... his brain is on the outside of his skull, so you can actually see some of his brain matter, on the exterior of his head. So he turns around, he ducks very carefully in his tiny, tiny room, and he says, "Oh, Beta, come on in."
Orndrim, I'd like to introduce you to my friends. Like I said, they also happen to be my new team, as you can imagine.
New team. Whoa, you didn't tell me you got a new team?
Yeah, well, the other team, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, no. That sucks.
Yeah.
He reaches down and he pulls down the Murphy bed, so there's somewhere for everybody to sit.
Vynos takes a seat.
Merkis is smiling wide. Did you say best friends?
Yes, Merkis. I hope we're at that level. I'm sorry if I kind of jumped the gun on
I
with
love
that,
it.
but
I love your best friend.
Hey, listen, if you guys ever need if you ever need any help in the field, if you ever gone on any really cool adventures, you just you let me know. If you need any help, Orndrim's here to assist.
Orangem, remember when I took you on that one mission and you got lost because you followed a sapient species into the woods?
Well,
and then we couldn't leave for 3 hours because we had to find you?
It's just, how often do you see a Molruk of that size just not on Kakadoon? It's like completely unheard of. And to be fair, I said that I was and no one heard. That's fine. I know. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Anyway, we're actually here. We're hoping you can help us out.
Yeah. I mean, what do you need?
Well, I mean, I can tell you this. We got into a little situation where we're looking for some information on a fellow archivist.
Oh, who asked? What do you need it for?
Just for, I better we don't talk about it.
Oh, like this is like secret stuff.
Yeah, secret stuff.
Okay.
Do you happen to know an archivist by the name of Zashdano Novell?
Good luck, Shannon.
I know.
Zeshtano Novell.
Zeshtano Novell? Zeshtiva Novell? I don't have a functioning mouth or brain. Zeshtina Novell?
He looks worried immediately. You say the name and he's like, gasps a little bit and he goes, he dances around, like sort of
Orange.
Gets a little nervous and he like is doing like a little bob and he's like, what do you, why?
Orange.
He's trying really hard to look cool.
Orange. You are doing the hallmark of your species, which is to walk around in circles when you are nervous, and you can't get that past me.
There's also no room in this room for him to do that, so he's basically just spinning in a little circle, like trying to occasionally trying to lean on something and look like he's not nervous.
You can't get these behaviors past me. We've studied each other enough to know that we can't do this to each other.
Yeah, I know Zeshtina Novell. She actually asked me to file a bunch of reports about the Fex and the Molruks and like a few other of the species on Kakadoon that they have. Because she's, she's working down there. But, I mean, I don't, yeah. I know who she is. I don't know anything else.
Merkis casts insight, or Merkis uses insight to see if he's telling the truth or not.
You don't even need to roll.
I know,
he's definitely lying.
Definitely lying.
It is. Tell me, roll it, and I will tell you how good your insight into what he's lying about is.
1d10, burning 1 grit, and oh my god,
you rolled a 1.
Yes.
He definitely does not know anything else other than
at least to Merkis, yeah.
Yeah, other than he works with Zeshtina Novell sometimes. She wanted some information about a few of the native species on Kakadoon from him, and he did that work. And when he said, I don't know anything else, very hastily, and while looking at his shoes, those two things are a hallmark of truth-telling.
Yeah. Merkis does not follow up.
Beta looks at Orangem and is like, Orangem, remember, I didn't leave you on the planet by yourself. I waited for you.
Okay.
It got one of our still fleeters caught in quite the mess.
So you're saying I owe you one?
You owe me one.
Okay. All right. So I had to file these reports, and they needed a bunch of approvals, and there was like a bunch of follow-up stuff that we had to do, and for a while, for like a bunch of months, we were talking every day. There were a lot of messages going back and forth, like it seemed really important, and then she just kind of stopped, and I haven't heard from her in a couple days, and I didn't want to ask too many questions because you ask a lot of questions around here, who knows what's going to happen? People don't like it when you ask questions. So,
but we love to ask questions.
I mean, yes, as a scientist, it is very important to ask questions. As a member of the worshipful company of Sylph Leaders, it's very, very bad to ask questions. Yeah. So, I'm sure you understand the position that I'm in.
I understand. Orndrum, what kind of communications were you having? I mean, that's a cool thing to tell us. It's not problematic to tell us.
He goes over to his desk and he just pulls out like a little mini terminal. Like he's got basically a small handheld version of what Nio had. It's not a like large, braided wire terminal to the archive, but it is a small informatic box that probably, you at least, Beta, would recognize as, like a small computer that allows you to essentially send emails and read small portions of the archive that are made available to you as a lower level researcher. Yeah, I mean, we were just messaging back and forth about, she had a lot of questions about the history of interactions between all of the sapients on Kakadun. She really wanted to know everything that she could about how they relate to one another, the history of like where they lived on the continent, and she just wanted like as much detail as she could. And like this, like I did a lot of that work when I was younger, and so like I had a lot of that research already done.
Merkis shuffles up behind Beta and sticks his head out and says, "Excuse me, as far as you know, do you know where she was writing from? Here or actually out there?"
Oh, yeah, she's been on Kakadun for a while.
What do you mean a while?
She started out here. I think she was a refactor. She like used to be a witness. She went out on a lot of, she was like you guys. She like went on all these like really cool adventures, and like, I don't know, she didn't really want to talk about it a lot. I maybe asked too many questions. I got a little excited. She worked her way up to refactor and then applied for placement in a province and asked to be put on Kakadun, became got a position on the subcommittee for Kakadun, and was doing her work from some of our outposts down there. Why do you need to know where she is? I would also like to know where she is. I want to know what she's up to and like what this research is for. But yeah, it's weird. I heard from her a lot and then kind of not at all.
Yeah, we were just wondering where she was because we would like to ask her some questions.
But maybe something happened to her, and we should follow that thread if she stopped talking to you.
I'm sure she's fine as well, but I tell you what, maybe it's this interest of hers in Kakadun that's gotten the best of her. You wouldn't know what that's all about, would you? Why would she'd be so interested in Kakadun?
No. She never said why she applied to go there specifically. To be fair, it's a very interesting place. There's a lot of different sapients. A lot of polities, all kind of like pushed up really close to one another in a very small, like Kakadun, it's got that one big continent. So like all of these different people have to live very close to one another. There's also those two other companies that are there. So there's a lot going on.
And you can remind me, what are those two? I remember you telling me this before. Those two other companies.
Oh yeah, it's Orthrax. Orthrax. They do all of the indentured servitude. And Oucher, who does all of the kind of like agriculture stuff.
Oh right. Those two companies.
Yeah, they're on the East Coast there.
Oh yeah, they're both on the East Coast, right? Yeah. I remember I was talking about this, and also we talked about they're like, what's their main thing they trade? We're always talking about this.
You would know Orthrax as principally a finished goods and arms dealer, and you would know Oucher principally as like food and supplies dealer. You would also know Orthrax as roughly like probably a little bit larger, and Oucher is a little bit smaller. I could send her a message, but
and Beta kind of like turns to her team and like thinks that she's speaking really low, but probably Orndrum could hear her. Like, do we want to send a message? We don't want to tell her?
Is Merkis just shaking his head?
Merkis is just shaking his head. Jen, the player, has just been shaking her head into the Zoom video.
Remy says in a normal voice, "Why don't we just go over there?"
I think if we open a stiff work, we might kind of tell the company we're kind of up to something.
I have an idea, but maybe we should talk about it later.
Orndrum, my friend.
Yeah.
Wonderful seeing you. Before we have to leave.
He looks genuinely sad that you're leaving.
I would like to say to my friends, my new best friends, very, very best friends, you guys have any questions about Mournfolk for Orndrum?
Yeah, why are their faces so cool?
I mean, there's a lot of theories about how they've evolved the shapes that they have. One of them is that, and he goes for as long as you will listen. He just goes and goes and goes, and if you don't stop him, you could be there for an hour. He actually, after a little while, he starts digging through some of his books. He's like, oh, and actually, I read this really great thing from a couple millennia ago that said that actually what, and then he starts like piling books, and he's not even really talking to you anymore. He's just talking to his desk and the pile of things that's on it.
And Beta does this specifically because she knows that by doing this is going to distract Orndrum. Orndrum has already thought up of all these new questions that he wants to read on, and that Orndrum won't even think about what we were talking about before.
And as you leave, do you leave? Do you all exit?
Yeah, Merkis is backing out backwards.
Orndrum, out of the corner of his eye, from his high up vantage point, sees you all starting to escape, and he goes, "Oh, I guess we're done. Cool. Thanks for coming to say hi. Beta, if you ever want to eat some pieces of metal in the Little Waitana, I could meet you halfway."
Absolutely, I will connect with you when I want to do that.
He does one of his lower arms does like a very subtle little.
Merkis is just wandering out loud, like, when do you think the next mission auction is? In the campaign?
It should be in a couple days' time.
Perhaps if we need paper trails for everything, perhaps we bid on a mission that takes us to the place we need to go.
Ah, yes. That's quite right.
Or we talk to our friend Algar.
Right, yes.
I'm going to make that my ringtone.
That.
Oh, yeah.
We have to get to Cockadoon. One way is through permission, through Algar, and one is through the cloak and shadow of another mission.
So you're saying we have to take another mission to do another
Vynos
mission?
has already turned and started talking to a stapler.
What are you guys doing? Are you walking back through the bays,
Yeah.
like back up to the flats and stuff? Okay. Yeah, as you go through the Mournfolk Bazaar and the far bays and then Little Waitana, you get around to Little Waitana, and in the distance you can see there is a younger human that's wearing a dull kind of brick red smock that is indicative that they are a page. They're an archive page, kind of like an intern. And they're kind of looking around like they're lost, and they're spinning and kind of like looking back and forth. They don't really know what to do, and they turn and they see all of you, and then start to make a beeline for you, like they have something to say to you. And as the page approaches, it's like a maybe like 17-year-old girl with curly red hair. She says, Imeldar Company, right?
Yes. I mean,
she looks at Merkis and looks at Vynos. Imeldar Company.
Merkis pops up his chest and says, Merkis here, yes.
God, I've been looking for you everywhere. Where have you been?
You looking for me?
I'm looking for all of you.
Oh.
Listen, Archivist Chraght would like to see you in his office as soon as possible, please. And she hands you a very small piece of paper that indicates a location in the Basilicon.
And Merkis picks it up with two bulby fingers and is like,
Okay, don't get it wet. Don't get it wet. Remy grabs it.
Listen, and she turns around and she starts walking away, and she turns around and she says, listen, and if he gives you a hard time about being late, tell him that it wasn't my fault. Tell him that I found you like 2 hours ago and that you were just dilly-dallying around. I don't need another demerit on my paperwork. We got a deal?
oh.
Deal. We're absolutely blaming it on her.
Yeah, there's no way we're not.
This is a lie I can stand behind.
She walks away. The piece of paper is like a perfect square. It's a couple inches by a couple inches, and it points to an address in the Basilicon, and it says Archivist Chraght. Chraght. Archivist Chraght.
Shannon, would you like to say that real quick?
Archivist Chraght.
Nailed
Okay,
it.
that's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, Remy's like, Merkis, and thank you. So you want to lie this time? Hell yeah! This is progress, my friend, my
Small
wet friend. Small steps, and proceeds to counsel Merkis on the finer points of lying.
Who is making a tea kettle sound about all this undue pressure now.
Hey friends, it's Shannon, aka Beta Combat on the podcast. Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting in your room listening to this podcast, Float City, and you're thinking, wow, I love this podcast, but I wish there was more. Well, friends, guess what? There is more. There's so much more over on our Patreon. I know what you're thinking. What is Patreon? Well, Patreon... What is Patreon? I'm not going to explain what Patreon is, but by signing up for our Patreon, you get access to so many extra bonus things related to our show. What are those bonus things? Well, you get access to character sheets. You get cut tape. We have a whole nother podcast where we talk about this show that you're listening to right now, as well as the state of the world and lots of other things. You get access to live streams. We have a Discord where we're all chatting and talking about stuff. Doesn't this sound great? Yes, of course it does. So go on over to patreon.com/FunCityVentures and support the show, won't you? And get access to that extra goodies stuff. That's patreon.com/FunCityVentures. Goodbye.
All right, yeah, you retrace your steps. You go back to whence you came, to another, again, maybe even higher up than where Nio's office was. Up and down these stairs, down these long hallways in the Black Rock of Spin. You get to the office that is indicated on the map, and it doesn't even have a door. There isn't even a curtain like Algar has. It is just open. You can walk right in.
Remy strides the fuck in.
Merkis is tiptoeing.
Beta follows.
Taylor, do you want to describe the person in the room, or?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great.
On the far wall of the sort of rounded cuboid you find yourselves in is an extremely large tapestry that seems to be woven from some sort of biological material from a culture you've never visited, and it has examples of languages that you don't understand and can't understand. Because between you and this grand beige and green tapestry, there is levitating 2 feet above the ground a large, rotund, humanish, red-headed man. And as your footfalls resound against the halls of the bubble chamber, he just simply rotates in air, the equator of his great belly turning like a planet to the sun to you, and you see that his eyes are simply not there. There are just 2 black holes in his head, but orbiting his head like moons around a planet are mechanical eyes, and as his holes gaze in your general direction, the mechanical eyes stop their orbit and fix themselves on you, and he floats towards you at a leisurely pace. This is Archivist Chraght. Ah, you, my endlessly surprising little company. The Merkis cadre,
And
yes?
Merkis salutes and says, correct.
Salutations.
Oh, you know, I think of almost everyone here as a kind of child of mine, but from what I've heard of your little cadre, I must say that I think of you as the first among my children. Bully for you.
Well, it is a great honor to be named thusly.
Oh, and there's a greater honor yet. You captured the pistola of the boss on Vader. You know, good people. And he floats very close to you now, and even though he can't make eye contact, his face still sort of hovers in yours. You know, good people spend their whole careers hoping against the void to even see such a specimen, and most never do, even most die trying. And then you come along with a basket of miracles. Not willing to give up your secrets.
No, they're
Well,
secret.
who could blame you? Well, I mean, we're all wondering what could possibly have happened there on Rigamont. And not only did you return with the treasure trove, the locks we haven't seen in a decade or more, what's more, it was from the lovers. To be a witness of the death of a boss, and I believe I read in your report some sort of end-dimensional Cthulhu. My goodness. To see that and then fill your cornucopia right under the nose of the Saffron and Nox.
What can I say? We're good at our jobs.
Archivist Chraght is looking at you intently. The orbiting eyeballs have sort of spread out, and each one is looking at one of you individually. And you can tell that he's looking to see what your reaction is after he dropped the name, the Saffron Anox. Mike, can I tell anything from their reactions?
Yeah, why don't you roll will? And if anybody is going to actively try to hide anything, I would let you roll either will or charm, whichever is higher. Okay.
11.
Yeah, my will or charm can't go
I
that
have a
high.
12.
Yeah, me either.
Let's
But
see. Hold
you
on.
can
Let me see
still-
if mine can.
Buy things.
Yeah, my charm is 10. I could try it.
Try it as well.
You can
My
burn
will
edge too,
is
don't forget.
12.
Grit.
We're burning
You can burn
grit, not edge.
We can
Burning
burn
grit, not edge.
I'm sorry. Shit. That's the first time I fucked that up.
That's pretty
y'all.
good.
Yeah, that is the first time. Is that yeah.
Hey, I did. It's good, actually, what I did.
So you burn 3 grit for +1.
It's 3 for 3, 6 for 6, 9 for 9.
Oh, yeah. I want to hide that we ever met the Saffron Anox. And I'm going to burn 6 grit.
And just to be clear, from what I understand from what Taylor is saying, he's not doing anything weird. He's just like capital
looking at
capital
us.
W weird. He is just
Right.
He's just looking.
using his skill as a person to perceive you.
Okay, I'm going to burn 3 grit then.
So like, yeah, he's not, if he wins, if he, beats you, he's going to know that you're not being honest, but he might not know. He's not going to have much at this point context for what you're being dishonest about.
Okay.
If you are in fact being dishonest.
So burning 3 grit allows you to have 3 more dice.
No.
It gives you a bonus.
Okay.
plus
So you
3.
can burn 3 to add 3 to your final result, burn 6 to add 6 to your final result, and burn 9 to add 9 to your final result.
Okay.
Well, I got a 10, so I didn't.
10 total or 10 plus 3?
I got 7 plus 3, which...
Got it.
Yeah, I don't think Remy's gonna lie. I think Remy's just like, yeah, it's probably fine.
Well, Vynos, knowing that Beta doesn't look very confident that she's going to be able to hide it, and just knowing Remy in general is not bothering to put on any defenses either. He's just going to try to be as forthcoming as he can without being overly forthcoming.
Sure.
Did you say it was will or charm?
Yeah, whichever one's higher.
Okay.
Or whichever
So-
one you want to roll. Yeah.
Merkis is going to burn 9 grit.
Yeah, that's funny. That's like a very Merkis move.
Yeah. Merkis is burning 9 grit and rolling well. So, let's see what happens.
If you weren't already at full pool, I would reward you with some grit for spending extra compulsively.
Oh my god. Okay. Total of 14.
Okay.
Merkis is not good at lying and scared to do it.
Remy pulls out his flute, starts tootling. He's not worried really.
You're playing your flute during the meeting.
It's like he
Archivist
doesn't even
Chraght?
realize he's doing it really. He's just sort of like doing it. And I think it would be very clear to the archivist that it's like a compulsive thing for him.
Vynos turns to Remy and gives him some eyes that say, maybe this isn't the best time for the flute.
Remy's like, right. Didn't realize I was doing that. Puts the flute away.
Okay, so Archivist Chraght, let's go person by person. The robot, the Shoodtha, it's hard for you to tell because no face.
Right. Yeah.
But like trembling maybe ever so slightly. Is that fair?
Yeah. What did you roll?
10.
Combat?
10. So like very you're like, huh, maybe she's nervous about me. Maybe I am just very imposing and like this is a scary situation. I get it. But like definitely scared. The Jalasti, solid as a rock.
Arms akimbo.
Cannot get a read one bit. Is also, you would know, the Banshee, and so is the one that is the representative of the group. And they, when you say the Saffron and Nox, stone-faced. One of them starts playing the flute, which like, to be fair, he's a sleeper, and you know what that's like. And then, what did Vynos roll, Nick?
I rolled 8.
You rolled 8.
Oh, I should roll. I can also roll. Let me roll charm real quick, just to make it like.
Okay, so we have a number associated.
Yeah.
And the older time guy, Nick, correct me if I have misread what you have described thus far.
Yes.
But like the older time guy is like looking at his teammates like he's waiting for them to say something.
I rolled a 1.
Yeah.
You rolled a 1. Yeah. I mean, I
but-
think rolling a 1 means that you take your flute out and start playing it.
All right, great. So we have an in-game. See now? Do you see how it? Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Causality flows
knew
in
the
two
role.
Causality flows in 2 directions, my friends.
I think the flute throws him off, but I think the 8 is hard. I mean, that's exactly what he was looking for. Suddenly, all the eyeballs drift very quickly. They fly even right in front of your face, Vynos. And just a foot away from your face, they sort of make a revolving, spinning circle in the air, like you're looking, at a ring. And then the Archivist Chraght floats sideways. He sort of strafes sideways until his face fills the ring of the eyes to you, and he says, "Oh, so you do know him then?"
Well, I've heard tell, and through my gift and path, I have seen things that don't always make sense. Does that help?
And what is it that you've heard?
The Saffron and Nox understands the Esheresk much more than I do, and I believe he was tracking us the entire time we were on the Lovers.
And why did you leave this out of your report?
I have no proof, but the Weird speaks in ways that don't always make it into reports. I apologize if any suspicions I had didn't make it to the report in error. I can amend them immediately.
He hasn't lied yet, so everything he has said has been very true. Yeah.
While that is not comforting, I must tell you that you've been trained very well, but from now until the end of space, write every suspicion in your report, Vynos. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
The Saffron and Nox is a psychotic and very dangerous in-dimensional warlord that fancies himself a statesman. One of the Whisperers, is extremely dangerous and, like myself, is very paternal. I must say, I'm shocked he allowed you to return unmolested, or at least without an introduction of some sort. Perhaps his attention was elsewhere. Well, regardless, I just wanted to call you all here and tell you, well done. Even people at my level, and dare I say those above, well, we've got our eyes on you. And I can see And the eyes float back out till each individual one is looking at you. That you're all going places.
Oh,
That'll be all. And he turns around, just rotates, and then floats back to view the tapestry again.
Merkis salutes, even because the eyes are still floating. No, because he may not be facing us, but the eyes are still looking. So Merkis salutes and just about faces and just hop out the door.
And you do not make it all the way out the door because you hop directly into your refactor Algar, who is attempting to enter the office of Archivist Chraght. He is turning a corner through the room blob door without any partition in front of it. He walks directly into Merkis, stumbles a little bit into the room and goes, "Oh my! What?"
Sorry, sir. So sorry, sir. And Merkis starts to rub the wet spot on Algar's leg.
And he's doing the same. He's like trying to sort of brush some of the mucus off.
Algar, sir.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
This should come out in the wash.
You.
Oh boy.
Beta is a little bit seething in the corner. She's like, that's such a meet cute. That's such a meet cute they're having right now.
Algar, he's standing in Archivist Chracht's office and he's looking at you like he doesn't really believe that you're here. And like the beetles on his face are moving around. They're chittering a little bit quicker and louder than they normally do. And he's like, well, this is quite a surprise.
We were summoned here, sir.
That's none of my business. All well and good. Archivist Chraght, I have the report that you requested. I will leave it in the normal location.
You will.
He walks over to where Remy is standing, and he sort of looks at Remy expectantly, and he says, you'll have to excuse me, just...
Oh, no, yeah, sure, bud. Doc, how you doing? Fancy seeing you here.
Yes, very. If you could please could you step one foot? And Algar, very carefully, like looking at Archivist Chraght, just puts the paperwork on the ground where Remy was standing. And leaves it and then walks away.
Remy just walks out. He's like, he says hi to Algar, sees the papers, and is just like, all right, later, y'all. Doesn't need to see anything else.
Algar turns to Archivist Chraght and he says, just do let me know if you need anything else. And actually, it's very unexpected, but quite a good boon. If the lot of you have a moment,
Algar.
Yes,
Algar.
Archivist Chraght, yes.
Is this the most appropriate place to have your meeting with your...
Oh my God, I'm so sorry,
Algar.
Yes, Archivist Chraght. And Algar stands up straight and puts his arms behind his back.
And this is all without turning around.
Algar says, I'm sorry, this is very unexpected.
Algar.
I've caught quite off guard, and
Algar.
I know, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
It's tapestry time.
Algar gets a very serious look on his face and looks at everybody and is like, we should leave. And he backs out.
Yeah, Merkis is just like tiptoeing out again.
Remy's already out the door, man. Remy's like playing his flute again. He's just fuck it. He doesn't, I think he doesn't really care about the seriousness of the situation because he doesn't think that they've done anything wrong.
Just to be clear, I do not need to know why you were speaking with Archivist Chraght. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I do not need to know.
Yes, but you desperately want to.
I do not need to know.
I understand.
As I was saying, if everybody has a moment, a job has come in for you. The directorate is very excited to send you on another excursion, and I would love to tell you about it at your earliest convenience.
Do we even need to bid for this job?
No, it has been handed down for you specifically.
Oh,
Specifically.
More rare shit, Doc?
Unfortunately, this one is something of a repair mission.
Less interested.
Though I have high confidence that fleeters and void miners of your skill level will return with no shortage of valuable goods.
Shall we go to your office?
Oh, yes, is now a good time?
I mean, we're all
I'm
here.
free.
Yeah. What?
You'll have to excuse me. I haven't tidied up, but yes, right now is great. And you make your way to Algar's office.
As they're walking there, Beta tries to make small talk with Algar. Very bad at it because she's very nervous. Hi, I love to tidy up when I know people are coming too. I'm such a tidy person. You should see my blob. What is it called? Blobs?
Blob, your room blob?
You should see my room blob. It is tidy to a T.
Algar does not respond to what you just said, but he does say, Beta, I know you left a book in my desk. You are the only one I know who dots their eyes with hearts.
So, do you have an answer to the question?
I'm not sure exactly which question you mean, but I will say, Beta, this is a very rare edition.
So you like it?
I am missing the 5th printing. I don't know how you knew. It's I'm
How would I ever know
to be
that?
perfectly honest, I'm quite thankful.
You would have to be so crazy to look at someone's collection and know they're missing the 5th version. That would be such a insane thing for someone to do.
You get to Algar's office and you realize what he means by he hasn't tidied up is that the moss has just been watered and has not been dried. So he runs over and he towels it down a little bit and then goes to his desk. Okay, shall we get to business?
What can we do for you, Algar?
He reaches into his desk, opens up this drawer, makes this like terrible screeching metal sound, and he lays out all this paperwork on his desk and he says, okay, so the archive, the directorate, would like to send you to the ancient commerce satellite Tsoon. Do you know it?
I am unfamiliar.
Same.
It's the artificial moon that orbits Terra. It's somewhat and he makes a wishy-washy like metza motion with his hand. Out of time. It's a bit out of time.
You have
Yes.
my attention. What is this? You be talking
Yeah.
Vynos at a time, or
Yeah, Merkis looks directly at Vynos.
So, technically speaking, soon, not yet constructed, but you might be surprised to learn already abandoned. The ways of time are somewhat of a mystery, aren't they? And he looks at Vynos and goes,
And Vynos says, yes.
Soon, called Narcosa by its residents, is completely packed with edifices. Every square inch of it is covered in building, and it's empty. In some hundreds of millions of years, the Snake Men will build this planet, this commerce planet, on this artificial moon around Terra, and they will use it as a shopping mall. Since it comes in and out of time, we deal with some difficulties now and again on Narcosa, where we have the edifices, but they are not yet used, or they have been around for so long that they are now abandoned. So anyways, the Snake Men aren't there. They've yet to come. It's uninhabited except for a few groups. The monochromatic humans, just a group of, well, let's just say unfriendly people who occupy some portions of some of the less developed portions of the planet, and the Vat Gnomes, so-called for obvious reasons. You might know one or two. They make their way to Spin every once in a while. You all know of who's the gentleman with the room blob near the canteen that's packed with goods? The gentleman with the curly black hair.
Brandish Ham?
Yes,
Brandish?
yes, Brandish Tam, a Vat Gnome.
Yes.
What the Vat Gnomes do, they subsist on the future ruins of the commerce empire that has been grafted onto Tsoon. They break it down and they trade it, they sell it to whomstever will accept whatever bits they're able to break off. And this mostly is fine, since the edifice is out of time. They're not really stealing from anybody. They're taking from something that has yet to exist or has existed so long long that it has become useless. However, there have been some difficulties that have popped up recently. It seems, for some reason, large bits of Narcosa are being dumped through a series of Escher-esque events onto various locations of concern to the company. And it seems as though there are fold gates. There are gates of some kind that are opening, scooping up much of the building material from the commerce center, and just dropping it around. It says here, these things. We're having piles of detritus dropped in Kalarash. The very hot and wet planet, covered in islands. The young colony, Kalarash. Giju, which you might have heard your friend Oat talk about, the home of the Harajun. Very cool and wet, a moss planet. It says here that it's also, there's some events happening in the west, in the manted egg cities of Terra, on the planet surface down from Narcosa, around these the manted egg-like structures. The rift itself seems to be centered around the prime egg, which is somewhat troubling, as this is right on the border of the Formiri Empire. The ant people, and the manted people and the ant people are just now settling their tensions. So if there is any unexplained phenomena, there's a chance that one will blame it on the other, and we could just be back in that bit of scuffle again. And the last location that is experiencing some of this is that's getting some detritus, some of this garbage sent to it, is Kakudun. It's a relatively cool and wet planet, rather temperate. It's third largest province of the company, dozens of competing kingdoms. Again, a similar situation to the west. We would just love to avoid there being any tensions arising from unknown items just being strewn about. We don't need people blaming each other for this. The Directorate had reached out after your last performance on The Lovers. They were very interested in seeing how you deal with a more open-ended problem, and also how you deal with the Escher-esque, which, looking at your files, it seems like Vynos you might have something of a passing familiarity with, but none of the rest of you have ever encountered. Is that correct?
Yeah, Doc, that's very correct. Never in my life.
The Esker who?
I would be excited to figure it out, though. I've been asleep. I'm ready to try new things.
Well, it seems like we've struck a bit of fortune in this time that we are presently in. I have just completed some training on speaking with steel and finding the actual source of unknown objects. I would be happy, of course, for the company if the rest of my crew here would wish to take this mission to trace some of this detritus. You said one of the planets was Kakadun, something like that. Would be happy to visit and get to the bottom of this for the company at once.
Fabulous. So you are. I mean, not that you really have a choice, but I love it when you're excited to do the work. You're interested in the job. Great.
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly can speak to myself. It's not a problem at all.
Vynos, baby, it doesn't seem like we can refuse.
I know, but I just wish to make sure everyone's voices are heard. I'm but one man. I can do some things, but
I love when
not
we
everything.
do this. I love when we pretend that we have a choice. It really warms my heart.
The illusion of choice. Yes.
So yes, once you arrive on Narcosa, the job actually is quite open-ended. Go to Narcosa, find the source of the fold gates that are opening and scraping up bits of building and scattering around our provinces, and stop it, I suppose. If you'd like to take a look at the paperwork, you are more than welcome. And Algar collects up the contract and hands it over to Merkis.
Yeah, Merkis would like to read it comprehensively.
Yeah.
What would that roll be again?
Roll will.
So, Mike, with this job, would that automatically come with the paperwork to go to all of the planets that you mentioned?
You don't know yet.
Okay.
But he has, the only thing that he said so far is go to Narcosa.
Narcosa, yeah. Okay. Merkis rolled a 3, which is not a success.
Yeah, I mean, you still, there's stuff on here that's like clear. So like if you just spend time reading it, there are things that you'll get. The requisitions language on this one is weird. The stuff that you can get from the acquisitions department, there's like a lot of really dense language around it. There's like a lot of things that you seemingly have to agree to in order to be given these items. And that's like kind of some of the stuff that's hard to read, that you like, it's hard to parse through. But you can see, because there's a lot of paperwork explaining how to use them, that there are 2 items that the archive will give you so that you may discharge your responsibilities for this job. You will be given 1 Escheresque anti-nausea field generator.
Oh, nice.
And you will be given 1 fold gate stabilizer. And you can see in the paperwork, it has diagrams of what these things look like. The Escheresque anti-nausea field generator is like a very thick bracelet. It's kind of like a gauntlet. It's like a black cuff that you can wear.
It's one of them.
Just one.
Okay.
And the fold gate stabilizer is a matte black ring that's about 0.5 meter in diameter that's covered in long sword-like teeth. It looks scary.
Does anyone else want to look through this paperwork? Merkis is shuffling and passing papers around.
Vynos wrote a 1, so he starts to reach for it, but then he gets distracted.
You get a paper cut.
I get a paper cut after that.
I roll a 7.
In the confusing language, it also stipulates that because of the multifaceted, like all of the many locations that you could conceivably go in order to solve this problem, like you might have to go to a number of provinces, there are 2 contingency items that the company is, if you check the right box, that is very, very small, that the company is willing to give to you if you say that you have a need for them. And that is advanced exosuits for each of the people who are going on the mission. So each of you can get a slightly more sturdy exosuit if you want it. And each of you can also get a solar-powered rebreather if you would like it.
Nice.
And does it say anything about getting that because of having to go to certain planets or certain...
Yeah, it's basically like if you end up out on the surface of Narcosa, there's a chance that you would need atmosphere. And while this job doesn't necessarily require you to go out onto the surface of Narcosa, in the discharge of your duties, you may be accidentally transported to the surface of Narcosa. And so if the fleeters who are undertaking this mission feel as though it is in their interest and the company's interest to be outfitted with the following items, all they need to do is swear that they will treat them appropriately and return them in good condition by checking this box.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Beta's looking over it and she's like, yeah, she's just checking the boxes.
Okay. Yeah. So you get some extra stuff.
Who knows what will get spit out. Yeah.
Okay. So overall, figure out what's happening and fix it.
Yes, our understanding, and the archive tells me that it will be very clear once you arrive, is that there are a number of Escheresque events occurring all over the planet of Narcosa, and once you are present, to figure out the source of them, and to simply stop it. And he's going through... Did you hand the paperwork back?
Yes.
He's going through it and he's like, yes, I see that you have agreed to the exosuits and the rebreathers. Yes, the anti-nausea field generator and the fold gate stabilizer. Very useful and important pieces of equipment. We only have 1 of each of these and we are hoping to be able to learn how to manufacture them. So please, we are expecting their safe return.
Doc, you can read this paperwork?
It is my job to read this paperwork.
Okay.
I have written much of this paperwork.
Oh.
Ah.
See, I was just wondering because I can't.
Why am I not surprised, Remy?
Well, the whole cryogenic sleep chamber thing really did a number on my brain. But I can still play the flute. He starts tootling.
Very nice. Love to end a meeting with a tootle.
So, just to be clear, where are we allowed to go on this mission? Are we allowed to explore all the areas that have been dumped with refuse. It could help with my tracking.
Algar's looking through the paperwork. He's flipping around and he says, there's no stipulation. There's no language here that says you are not permitted to visit any of the locations where the detritus is being sent. And he flips a piece of paper, looks at the back of it, looks at the front of it, looks at the back of it again. He says, they've only provided a TAC map to Narcosa. So I believe it is very strongly implied that at the very least, that is your starting point. And I will point out, if you do, for whatever reason, need to address any concerns on any of the provinces, the fold gate stabilizer will do just that. It will stabilize a fold gate such that it can be used.
Excellent.
As a gate. And Merkis is just like, it dawns on him like, oh.
Anyways, yes, if you all agree, just sign here on the line, and I will just stipulate, out of time has a very particular set of impacts. So, in your interest and in mine, be careful, won't you?
Beta's heart skips a beat, and she just smiles and stares a little too long.
You are now leaving Float City. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, do a tweet about it. Tweet it out to your pals, or however you might characterize the people who follow you on social media. You can even tweet the tweet that I have left in the show notes. And of course, you can support the show at patreon.com/Fun City Ventures. Thank you to all of our current patrons for help keeping this ship afloat.
Hi, I'm Bijan Stephen, and I play Remy Tester on Float City. You can find me online on Twitter at Bijan Stephen, BIJANSTEPHEN, on Twitch at the same name, and on Instagram at Bijan Cakes, BIJAN Cakes.
I'm Jen De La Vega. I play Merkis and Meldar. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Randwiches. That's the word sandwiches, but replace the S with an R.
This is Shannon Odell. I play Beta Combat. You can find me on social at Showdell.
Hello, this is Nick Guercio, and I play Lux on Fun City and Vynos on Float City. You can find me at Nicholas Guercio on Twitter and in Guercio on Instagram. You spell Guercio Guercio.
I'm Taylor Moore, and I play all the cool, interesting characters. You can follow me at taylor.biz.
My name is Mike Rugnetta. I am your GM, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Rugnetta. You can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at Fun City Ventures. Float City is played in a soon-to-be-released system called Stillfleet, which you can find on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon at Stillfleet. This episode of Float City was recorded at various locations around Brooklyn, New York, and Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It was produced, edited, and sound designed by me, Mike Rugnetta. Why art thou silent and invisible, Pixlriffs? Why dost thou hide thyself in clouds? Fun City's music is by Sam Tyndall. Remy's flute playing is by Jake Fridkiss. Our art is by Tess Stone. Our Discord mods are Olivia Goulin, Kit Pulliam, and Kestrel. And the voice of Artemis is Molly Templeton.